Two on the Aisle with me, Charles Gross, and Leslie Hoban Blake. Tonight, a very special Two on the Aisle. We celebrate the Yiddish theater and related. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Two on the Aisle.
Good evening, I'm Leslie Hoban Blake.
And I'm Charles Gross. I had the pleasure of interviewing the former director of the Volksbühne, who just directed Herschel, The Adventures of Herschel.
Astropolia.
Absolutely, yes. at the Volksbühne. And
which is now in the MCC, over at Brewer College. In this beautiful auditorium.
Beautiful auditorium. The show was so popular last year, they brought it back this year, and who knows, they may bring it back again. But you know what? I'm going to let Eleanor talk about that. So.
Well, I'll see you guys later.
Okay.
Ein bisschen der Kopf.
Ja, ich war der Nächste.
Ich bin doch ein Doktor. Jetzt von die fünfte Seite, da geht's den Klappt euch den Kring.
Euch klappen der Kreis.
Ei, ei, ei. Starke, starke, starke.
And our guest for this evening is the former director of the Volksbühne Theater and the current director of their recent production, The Adventures of Herschel Astropolia. I think.
Excellent.
Did I get it right?
Excellent.
Okay.
Herschel Astropolia.
And here I'm proud to have Eleanor Risa.
Hey.
And I got that too. Okay.
Sehr gut gesucht.
Thank you. And what does that mean?
Very well said.
Thank you.
Sehr gut gesucht.
But at least that you think that this lovely lady who also has this very nice CD, it's called Songs in the Key of Yiddish, and will very shortly be touring with a klezmer band.
A klezmer band, Frank London and the Klezmer All-Stars.
Okay. She does English things too because she also was nominated for an Outer Critics Award for the musical Cowgirls.
Yes.
Which I think had classical country, but no Yiddish.
No Yiddish and not even a brunette in sight. It was just a bunch of blondes from Kansas and Arkansas and Alabama. So it was a good matchup.
Now, I guess the first question is, what's a nice Jewish girl like you doing with the Yiddish theater? Is there any Yiddish theater?
A, there is Yiddish theater. B, I'm a lucky Jewish girl. Not that you have to be Jewish to speak Yiddish. It is a language. It is a language like Spanish or French or Portuguese or Urdu. You just have to speak it, no matter what your race or religion, and I just would like to say that very much.
How did you learn it?
My parents were Holocaust survivors, and I was born here, as we say, in a small town, a klein Städtel, mit Grues, with grass, with Beimelech trees, wie Kinder haben gespielt in der Gas, where children played in the street. Brooklyn. So I was born in Brooklyn many, many years after my parents came to America. Many, 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 many years later. And
they came to America in 1990.
They just came. And Yiddish was my first language. So in public school I learned English, but my Yiddish really got good in the theater. I worked with some really great artists, great writers, directors, and I learned my Yiddish from songs, from literature, and now it's pretty good.
Now, the Volksbühne is, I think, the last remaining Yiddish company. If you go back when that theater was formed, 96 years ago?
I think so, yes.
If you walk along 2nd Avenue, you had a very thriving Yiddish theater. And I think Volksbühne is the sole survivor.
Well, I think there are other companies, but Volksbühne is certainly the longest and most currently professional, and they're a terrific company that has a very high bar of excellence and outreach, and they really try to keep it alive, and it is alive, and it is not only alive, they've kept it accessible. So all of the shows they do have super titles, like in the opera. Before a show every night, they have a little Yiddish class for free. Whoever attends their show sits in a room and they learn and yak in Yiddish. It's a very good company. Mm-hmm. You know, it's a funny thing about Yiddish because everybody thinks it's dead and gone.
Right.
And I just want to say it's really not. And also, it exists as something a person could learn because it's gorgeous.
Well, there was so much literature written. You know, this. I think Zero Mostel, who created Tevye on the Roof, said, you know, I read the original Tevye stories in Yiddish, and you can read them in English, but it loses something in the translation. There was so much literature.
There was so much literature, and languages are all different. I mean, you know, when you think in Spanish or you think in Hebrew or in English, thinking in Yiddish, it has a poetic, the words are very onomatopoeic, and the language is filled with metaphor, and so I just would urge people to come and hear it.
Now, speaking of interesting Yiddish metaphors, I think the thing that has always fascinated me about the Yiddish language is the cursing. I mean, when we curse in English, we basically use profanity, but Yiddish is so much more creative.
Listen, Shakespeare, the only regret he had, it was written somewhere, was that he didn't know Yiddish. That, I mean, yeah, there are great, you know, cursing in Yiddish is poetic.
Like, do you have any examples?
Well, not that I would ever say this to anyone, and not that I ever curse in any language.
Poo-poo-poo.
Poo-poo-poo.
As they used to do.
But you could say, if you're angry at somebody, you could say, "Du sollst leben wie a Chandelier, hängen bei Tag und brennen bei Nacht." You should live like a chandelier, hang by day and burn by night.
Well, I like that one.
You know, that's good. And if you're a little angry, you could say, "Du sollst verlieren alle Zähne, ach jetzt eine, und in dem Zun äußerst die hob Matzun weitig." You should lose all your teeth except for one, but in that tooth, boy, should you have a toothache. It's kind of great.
Right. Now, tell me a little about Herschel. That's kind of very. Would that be considered classic Yiddish theater?
I don't know if it would be considered classic or not. I know that it's good theater,
yes,
which is what we strive for. It was based on a true story of a true story / folk hero, a kind of Robin Hood who used his wits to help the poor. He himself was very poor, and this was I adapted this from a few other playlets, and together with Zalman Lutek, who's the current artistic director of the Folksbiene, and his mother Chanem Lutek, who works at the YIVO. We did the music and lyrics together, and it's a gorgeous folk tale, and it's a 9-character piece. And
Spiel.
Yes, but everybody in it is young. We had regular auditions where people learn Yiddish phonetically. Some know it, some don't. Some come in with some German or some Hebrew.
Which is kind of Yiddish, is kind of a mixture of that.
It kind of is, but it feels very different, tastes very different. And we have terrific super titles on the set that are seamlessly done.
In English and in Russian?
In English and in Russian.
You have a large Russian audience?
They have a large Russian audience, and you know, it's almost like you could take the play anywhere. You could take it to France and have French super titles and a Yiddish show.
And a bona fide Broadway star. You had Mike Burstyn.
We had Mike Burstyn
in the lead,
who was so talented and provided such a great model for all the young actors. So in that sense, it is classic. I mean, because he is a classical star of effortless, humorful, heartfelt, rather extraordinary. So, and we brought it back this year. So it had tremendous success.
Okay. And we may see it yet again.
Let's hope. We can certainly see it at Lincoln Center if we want to.
It was recorded. And people can go in.
You have to make an appointment,
right,
but it's a terrific, you have to tell them that you're in the industry in some fashion or doing research, but you can see a great many things at Lincoln Center.
And what's coming up for you?
For me, I'm leaving.
You mentioned a singing tour.
I'm leaving for Butte, Montana, in 3 days to sing with Frank London and the Klezmer All Stars.
In Yiddish.
In Yiddish.
In Montana.
In Butte.
In Butte.
In Butte, Montana, at the Butte Folk Festival. We're going to sing Yiddish. and
Yiddish folk songs.
Yiddish folk songs as well. You know, and there are other bands who are Spanish and African, and Yiddish can be a world language. There's no reason that it should sort of be parceled off to something nostalgic. This music and the art is so groovy and contemporary. I'm directing and writing and in English. I'm working on my English. I hope it's.
It sounds actually
it's
pretty
so
good.
for me hard. But
well, I will try in closing. I will try the reverse of the Yiddish curse. May you grow very rich, have a huge house, and live well in every room. I think the original is may you be found dead in every room.
but live in that's.
Right.
I thank you.
And thank you very much for
A
coming.
pleasure, always. I love your show.